Hello everyone, Sim here, and I'm here actually for a mod spotlight today. And we are going to be spotlighting Ars Magica 2. This was released, I believe it was on the 25th of October, so we've had it for a little while now. And as I just mentioned, it is my favorite mod. So let's jump right in and talk about some world gen. Now, the world gen that you get in the form of ore is going to be the blue topaz right here, and you're going to get also moonstone, sunstone, chimerite, and Mithion. So this is what each of them look like. Moonstone looks to drop 1 to 2. Chimerite is somewhere around 2 to 3. And it looks like Sunstone and Blue Topaz all drop just 1. Now, the ones that spawn in the overworld are going to be the Blue Topaz, the Chimerite, and the Mithion. The Moonstone actually comes in at night. So at night, you have a chance of having a meteor fall down, and that gets you a couple ores of moonstone. So something to keep an eye on. Mithion is going to spawn underground, as will Chimerite and the Blue Topaz. So keep an eye out for those when you go mining. The Sunstone, however, spawns in lava pools. So your best bet to find this is going to be going to the Nether. In the Nether, I don't actually have it set up to show you, but do take my word for it that they will spawn there in the lava pools. So that is your basic world gen for ore. Now there is a little more world gen in the form of plants. So we're going to have the Desert Nova, the Blue Orchid, the Alm, and the Tarmaroot, which if we have that right here. These two are used in crafting. These two are used in crafting as well, but I believe it's just for the mana cake, which is something we might get into a little later. And then there is this little guy. This little guy you can't plant as far as I can tell, but it spawns out in the ocean. So we're talking about, of course, the Wake Bloom. It's a very handy little plant, and I believe it's only used in essence crafting as well as spell crafting. So that's something to keep in mind there. Okay then. Now, the last plant that we have, let me actually just go ahead and get rid of the Wake Bloom here, is the Witchwood tree. So right here you can see the sapling. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem to want to grow. It might only grow during certain times or in certain conditions. I really don't know. But they do spawn in the world in forested areas. So this is what the trunk looks like. Very, very hard to miss. And these are the planks. They're actually very nice looking in my opinion. And I've used them for a lot of stuff here, as you can tell. So to get started in the mod, to actually get your mana bar and get started with the magic, you need 2 things. Well, 3 if you count the world gen. So you need a book, you need an item frame, and you need this. It's called Liquid Essence. It spawns in a 2x2 pool all around the world, and this desert in particular seems to have quite a bit of it. Because if you look right here, we actually have another pool of it, and there's even more down south. So something to keep in mind and to look out for, because you can actually pick this stuff up and store it in a bucket. So you can actually then move it, and it is forge liquid, so you can store it in tanks even if you want to. So this is important because if you put an item frame on a block nearby and then put a book in the item frame, it will start spinning particles all around, and it will infuse the book with the essence, creating dun, 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 your Arcane Compendium, and this unlocks your magic levels. And you'll notice I now have a little level right here, and there's actually going to be 2 bars here and here. The blue one over here is actually your mana bar, so it also dictates your casting mode. The little crescent moon indicates that we're in diminished casting mode, which is good and fine and all that, but it's the lowest tier. So if you hit the C button by default, that'll turn it to normal casting mode. And from here, it does more damage, spells cost more, and so on. There is one more casting mode, but you can only unlock it by defeating, I believe it's the Arcane Guardian, the highest tier boss. And let me tell you, he is a beast. So if you want augmented casting, you have to kill him. So from here, you might be asking, well, how do I use the mana? And what's that red bar? We'll get into the red bar after we make a spell. To use your mana, you have to, of course, go through the spellcrafting system. To do that, we need 3 things. We need the inscription table right here, and the oculus right here. And we also need the crafting altar, which is that stuff right over there. We'll get to that in a minute. So first, we'll start with the inscription table. To do this, one of the base components you need is some spell parchment. So 2 sticks and a piece of paper gets you 1 spell parchment. You put that in the crafting grid right here and combine it with a feather, a torch, 3 wooden slabs, and 2 wooden planks in that configuration, and you get this. You place it just like a bed. Then the other block you need is the oculus. So you're going to need some blue topaz that we saw earlier, and you're going to need 3 things of brick, some glass, and some coal with that topaz to make the oculus. Now the oculus controls, well, it doesn't control anything, but it allows you to set your skill points and your talent points. So let's take a look. Now, for testing purposes, I have already set up a little bit of stuff here that will allow me to make a spell or 2 to show you. So let me explain the different points and why these are different shapes. The square bits here are actually known as, well, shapes. And they determine what your spell targets. So with a projectile, it will target whatever you shoot with it. However, there are also touch spells, self spells, AoE spells, beam spells, all sorts of different types of spells. And you can combine them in many different ways. But essentially, if you tell it it's a projectile spell, it's going to shoot something. If you tell it's an AoE, it's just going to sprout from here and do a small bit of AoE for whatever type of spell you want. From here, we have these little shapes here. And those are known as components. Now, the components dictate what kind of damage it is or what school of magic it is. So we have fire damage, obviously here we've got lightning damage, magic damage, physical damage, and those are just to name a few. There's still other things like ender, life, water, ice, fire, magma, I believe. So quite a few different choices, and we haven't even unlocked near all of them yet. So we've only gotten to the 3rd and 4th tiers here. So there's still quite a bit here. And in addition to that, there's actually 3 different skill trees. There's the offense, which we're in here. Then there's the defense, which focuses on things like augmenting the character, healing the character, things of that nature. Then the utility tree is going to be changing the world around you, is probably the best way to describe it. So things like this, it deals with harvesting crops. You can grow crops, you can change the weather, change, I think, the moon. I'm not 100% positive on that, and this seems to be one of the biggest skill trees here. So keep that in mind when you're looking through stuff. Now, you might have noticed that some of these have different color text. That's because they require different skill points to unlock. Now, up here in the right-hand corner, we have a blue, a green, and a red indicator. and those dictate how many of which kind of skill point we have. Now, those can be used only on their respective color skill. And in here, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 different color, or 5 different blue skills, 1 green skill, and 1 red skill. So that's important to keep in mind. Now, you might be asking how you get the skill points, and that's a very good question to ask. There's 2 ways that I know of. Well, actually 3 ways. For blue skill points, as you level up in your mage level, every, I believe it's 2 levels, you get 1 blue skill point. But that's not very helpful once you get past a certain point. So you get infinity orbs. Infinity orbs come from 2 places, either dungeons in the chests or from killing bosses. So you can kill bosses to get infinity orbs. The higher tier boss that you kill, the better tier infinity orb that you get. And I believe they are influenced in some way to your mage level. So keep that in mind. To use an infinity orb, it's very simple. You just need to right click with it in your hand, and you'll notice each of these orbs has a different color. The color of the orb dictates the color of the skill point that it grants you. So you notice we got a red, a blue, and a green skill point. So we've got, let's go ahead and grab bounce. We'll grab contingency, and we don't have enough to get another red one, so we'll just hold off on that for now. So now we're going to want to come over here and see how to make our crafting altar. So did not want to lose that. So this is where your Arcane Compendium really comes in handy. The Arcane Compendium is like a wiki in your pocket. It allows you to look up pretty much anything and everything that this mod has to offer. So here is the crafting altar under structures, and we can take a look. It will flash through and give you a visual of everything the mod has. So you can actually pause it so it stays on a certain thing, and you can actually see what effects the different materials will have on your final structure. So in this case, in the one that we have built here, we've got stone brick and we've got emerald. Those are the 2 modifying effects. So stone brick, you see, gives 1 effect. The higher tier gives higher material or effects. So witchwood, nether brick, and nether quartz would all give 3 effects versus the 1 effect. So it will give 2 additional effects. So the toppers right here, these 4 corners and the center block right here, I have as emerald blocks. So they give +8 effects. So once again, quite a bit of an increase from, say, glass. So the absolute lowest you can have is 2 effects on your spells. And the highest you can have is about 13. So that's something to keep in mind. So how do we make this? Well, we need 3 things. We need magic walls, which is Ventium dust, stone, and another Ventium dust to make 16 of that. We need a lectern, which if I click this, this is going to cause me to crash. So I'm just going to show you that we have 3 wooden slabs with a wooden plank, and that gets you your little lectern there. Then we need the actual crafting altar block. So that just is a stone and a Ventium dust, just like right here, and it gets you that. So now, if you want to know how to put it together, you can actually click this little arrow here, and it will show you layer by layer how to build it. So it's very cool, and a very handy way to learn how to build your structures. So now let's learn what to do with this now that we've learned how to build it. Now, this is where your inscription table comes in handy. So you right-click it to open it, and to use it, you need a book and quill. So let's toss a book and quill in there, and if you take it out, that finalizes the spell, so you want to be 100% sure you're done. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to make a projectile spell. We're going to have it do magic damage, fire damage, and ignition. And just for kicks, we're going to throw in bounce. Now, I haven't shown you bounce or what bounce is. It's actually known as a modifier. It just kind of tweaks how your spell reacts. So in this case, it's just going to bounce. And as I mentioned, essences... Well, actually, I don't think I have mentioned essences yet. I will get to essences. So please bear with me for the time being. That's what this little wall over here is for. In fact, I might just go ahead and talk about that now. Essences are either made or found. You can find them, I believe, in dungeon chests, and you can get them off of boss drops. This here in particular is the block you need to make them. So you need planks, obsidian, some arcane ash, which I will show you how to make over there, and you need a diamond, and that gets you this. Now, I don't believe the recipes have changed too much, but I'm not sure I'm going to go ahead and show you all the recipes. I might try to show you the earth essence if it works in here, which it does not look like it does. However, it will be in the Arcane Compendium. So you have dirt, obsidian, stone, and arcane ash. If you put that in that configuration inside here, it will spin this circle, and eventually you'll get an output right here of earth essence. So right there. So now let's go ahead and name our spell if we went on to the right side here. So how about Firebolt? Alright, so now that we're done making it, let's go ahead and pull the book out, and you'll notice it's named and has my name on it. So this is from earlier testing, so let's go ahead and just get rid of that. So to get started, you place your book on the lectern. Then you're going to need one, you can actually read it, and you will show you what's in it, what it takes to make it, and what affinities it has. So let us get started. To get started with it, you have to toss in a blank rune, and you'll know it's started because you'll start to see particle effects, and something's going to appear on the book. What appears on the book is what it wants you to toss into the altar next. So we toss that in. Now it wants an arrow. Now it wants a snowball. Wants a purple rune. Now it wants some lapis lazuli and a book. Now it wants a stone sword, which I missed that one. My bad. There we go. Alright, now it wants a fire rune, some flint and steel, another Ventium dust, actually. Now it wants another orange rune, the last flint and steel, the earth essence, and a slime ball. Sorry about that. And, okay, now this is how you know it's done, is that it's got that spell parchment on it. So it wants you to toss in one spell parchment, and it completes the spell. So now when you pick it up, you have your spell. And when you first right-click it, it will have you name the spell and pick an icon for it. So let's, how about this right here? That seems like a good picture for it. When you're done, you just hit E or escape, somehow exit the menu, and you have your spell. It's named, and it actually shows up on the tooltip there, so it's pretty cool. So now we need to find something to shoot. I don't actually have anything set up to shoot, but we can. So let's go ahead and find, why not? How about a cow or two? So here's a cow, and cow meat, fireball. Now, you'll notice we leveled up. We leveled up quite a bit. That's because it is, well, anytime you use a spell, and actually has the effect happen, so you have to hit something. So if I were to just cast it like that, I got no experience. It cost me mana and all sorts of stuff, but I did not get any experience for it. And this cow is absolutely terrified. That's a little funny. Something you might have also noticed is that the red bar went up after I used a spell. Notice right there. That actually increases the cost of the spell. So the faster or more repeated that you use a spell without giving it time to cool off, it costs you more mana and gives you less experience. So you got to space out your spells to become more mana efficient. Another thing to keep in mind is the higher level you are, the more damage your spells are going to do. So with this, come here, cow. Oh, come on, cow. Come on. Well, he's too afraid of me, and I've seemed to have burned down my forest over there. But yes, that is your basics of the burnout meter in the lower left, as well as your mana bar. And keep in mind, like I said, you can go to normal casting mode, but it significantly increases the cost of the spell. So diminished, it only cost me 73. Normal, it cost me 293. So quite a significant increase in the cost here. So now what we are going to get into is a little bit of the other power end of the mod, including some of the blocks. So some of the base power systems is going to be your Nexi. There are 3 different kinds of Nexi. This here is a pure Nexus. Pure Nexus is made with quartz blocks as well as many different types of caps on it. In this particular case, I used diamond just for the sake of the demonstration here. So in the light Nexus, you can have things like glass, moonstone. I believe you can have, yes, you can have gold. Of course, we have diamond, and I believe the moonstone is the highest tier. And the higher tier you have, the faster it actually generates energy. And the light Nexus is special in that it generates energy from just your surroundings, just existing. It doesn't require any kind of input from you to generate power. Now, this little bit here is a magic circle, and it's made using chalk. And this here is white chalk, which is made with a little bit of bone meal, some clay, the arcane ash again, some flint, and paper. And that gets you the chalk. And you get the arcane ash by smelting arcane compound. The arcane compound comes from netherrack, stone, redstone, and glowstone in that particular area there, and then smelted to get the ash. Now, you might be wondering what all you can use the power for. That's a pretty good question. And in this case, it's going to be the Arcane Reconstructor. The Arcane Reconstructor is a really cool little block that it essentially just repairs items for you. So it will use the energy from the Nexus, and that has got stored in itself, to repair whatever items that you have. So I don't actually have an item prepared to demonstrate to you, so how about I grab a sword real quick and just damage it really quickly to give you an idea of how it works. So you notice I have a little bit of damage on it. We'll toss it in here, and it gets sucked up into the air, and it's repairing our sword for us. Once it's done, it shunts it off to the side, and there you go. A fully repaired and working sword. So I'm pretty sure it works with mod items. However, you might be careful with that. I'm not 100% positive it works on everything, but it is still a very, very useful block. This here is something we're going to need to use in just a little bit down over there in one of my demonstrations. This is redstone inlay, and it is made with a redstone around Ventium dust. And I believe you get 16 per crafting recipe. And it's perfectly flat, so you can't even tell you're walking on it. And it lays down pretty much exactly like minecart track. So be warned in that. And in fact, just like minecart track, it works as minecart track. And it actually works like powered rail. So keep that in mind. And it's also solid. The different kinds of inlays that you can use have different effects. Darn it. I'm not good at typing one-handed. There we go. So let's go ahead and maybe try to show this to you here. There we are. Trying to remember exactly how this one worked. Ah, there we go. So yeah, it can kind of teleport the cart a short distance. So that's something to keep in mind. It's actually very useful. So that is what that one does. I'm not entirely positive what the iron does. However, all of them act as Minecraft cart. But like I said, they have different special abilities that you need to be aware of. So keep in mind, I'm not showing you all of the blocks simply because there's a lot of them, and part of the fun is figuring out what they do for yourself. Now, what I'm going to demonstrate for you now is a little bit of the armor. Now, there's two different types of armor that you have in Ars Magica 2. There's the standard mage armor, and then there's the battle mage armor. So these are located in the items tab of your Arcane Compendium. So we have the mage armor here, which is the hood, robes, legs, and boots, and the battle mage armor. The circlet, the armor, the legs, and the boots. Now, the battle mage armor requires essences, as we mentioned before. It's going to take some of the essences you make from that or get from killing bosses. But the standard mage armor just going to take some runes and actual materials here. So that's another thing to keep in mind. I'm wearing the lower tier mage armor. So I'm going to show you one of the special abilities of the armor. Each piece of armor has its own special ability. And if you notice on the left-hand side of my screen, you can actually see the armor. And if I were to jump off of here, you would expect me to take fall damage. But instead, I got a slow fall effect. That came courtesy of my boots, which took a little bit of damage. Now, because they took damage, they are draining a little bit of my mana in order to repair themselves. They don't repair very quickly, but they do repair, and it is very, very useful. Now, the slow fall ability that I got from my boots is on cooldown, and you can tell that because the boots are blacked out on the left side of the screen. So they will regenerate their effect fairly shortly, and once that happens, they'll just appear as the regular boots again. Now, oh, and speak of the devil, there it is, right there. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to summon the first boss. Now this is the absolute first boss that you're going to want to fight, because he is the lowest level boss that you're going to want to fight. And this particular one is going to be the Water Guardian. Now this is what he looks like. You can actually rotate it and see him for yourself. And gives you a little bit of information about him. It tells you the recommended level to fight him, and it tells you how to summon him. In this case, you have to be in a water biome, so like a river or an ocean, possibly a swamp. I'm not positive on that. And you need to make a redstone inlay circle, like we happen to have over here in this river biome. You can check it with F3. Oh, and actually we're in ocean. This is beach, and that is river. So you just have to make sure you're in beach, river, or ocean, or some of the other predominantly water areas. The next thing you have to worry about is it needs to be raining. So we're just going to turn on the rain. Now, what we need to do is we need to toss in a bucket of water and a boat. I'm going to do this in creative so I don't get attacked, because I'm not going to show you the fight. I'm just going to show you how to summon him and what he looks like. So you toss in the bucket and the boat into the center, and there he is. Now, something to keep in mind is that he is a water boss, so you're not going to really want to fight him in the water, because chances are he's going to have some ways to hurt you in there. So it'd be a good idea to have a bigger platform than this, but this is just for demonstration purposes. So, now I hope you guys have learned at least the basics for the Ars Magica 2 mod. Hopefully this will get you well on your way to becoming the best mage that you can be. And I will see you guys next time. Until then, take it easy.